to talk to you about something that's not partisan, not Republican. It affects Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, liberals, you name it, across the whole spectrum. It affects them all, including people that don't even care. This is the recall of George Gascon, who is the most dangerous man in Los Angeles County in a very real sense. His policies, his viewpoint, his philosophy are creating victims as we speak, because people that should be in a custodial facility, either a jail awaiting trial or a prison for having committed a very violent act, it's not happening. As a matter of fact, he's dedicating resources to getting people out. And he's doing that by bringing in career public defenders to run the LA County DA's office. Now, is that an oxymoron or what? They have really, they're kind of taking apart the DA's office, where the DA's office is the linchpin of the criminal justice system. And to the extent the DA's office doesn't work, it makes all the work of frontline law enforcement irrelevant. They make an arrest, the DA's office won't file. They arrest a really bad guy, they don't get a high bail because enhancements aren't filed. Enhancements dictate the amount of bail. You go down to all those policies, they are defendant or criminal friendly, and they hurt victims and next of kin of murder victims. He hurts the victims in the courtroom by not upholding the law, by reducing charges below what they should be, and he hurts the next of kin of murder victims because he will not provide any assistance to them when they go up and face the murder of their loved one at a parole hearing. They go alone. They go alone. That has not happened since the early 70s. The DA's office, because of the Sirhan case, back in the 70s, under, I think it was Jerry Brown, they were going to parole Sirhan. And the LA County DA's office woke up and said, this is crazy. And they caused a rescission of that. Sirhan's still in prison. And since then, the DA's office realized we are going to support next of kin of victim, and we're going to represent the people at parole hearings, because those are bad guys. And gals in some cases. They've killed people, sometimes multiple people. We don't want them out. But he doesn't do that anymore. He says the DA's role stops when the person is sentenced. Period. No further assistance. So across the board, he is doing things that have denigrated our justice system, made us all unsafe. You know, our families, our neighborhoods, our communities, our county. It's a lot less safe because of him. And it's all about his policies. And his policies come from, not from the law, which is how it's supposed to work. You know, the Constitution, the legislature passes laws, the DAs are part of the executive branch, they enforce them, they prosecute crimes, it's all the government code. I don't think you've ever read the government code, or the Constitution for that matter. He is advancing a progressive ideology, one that's been developed over time and funded by George Soros. We have about 14 George Soros owned and elected DAs in the United States of America. Philadelphia, Chicago, 2 boroughs of New York, Milwaukee, Portland, Oregon, which is Multnomah County, Contra Costa County, California, San Francisco, LA County. LA County is the big elephant. We are the largest county population-wise in the country. In terms of the jurisdiction of the DA's office, LA County DA's office is the largest, and the closest second is Cook County, Chicago. And they're about 55-60% the size of the LA County DA's office. So we were the county to capture for George Soros. And he beat Jackie Lacey, who was a professional, career prosecutor, African-American, woman, Democrat. George Soros beat her, an incumbent. Beat her, how? He and one other person put in $3 million of campaign money. They bought ads for 3 weeks. Jackie Lacey's bad, George Soros is good. Well, I'll tell you, George Soros is no good. He was a lousy chief of police in San Francisco, hated by the troops. Newsom, our dear friend Newsom, who's clueless in many ways, has to fill the spot of district attorney. because Kamala Harris had won the Attorney General's race against me, and she left the DA's office in San Francisco. So someone had to be appointed. Newsom is mayor. He gets to make the appointment. He's sitting around with his buddy George Gascon. He says, "Well, George, you're a lawyer, aren't you?" "Yeah, I am. I never practiced law. I never filed a case. I never represented a client. I never conducted a deposition. Well, I'm going to make you district attorney of San Francisco County." And he did. So he messed up that county. He messed up that county so bad that the left-wing mayor of San Francisco endorsed Jackie Lacey and had harsh words for Gascon. The city attorney for San Francisco endorsed Jackie Lacey, had harsh word for Gascon. The police officers from the San Francisco POA warned us. They worked with him. What did they say? The day he announced to run for LA County DA, because he was going to be defeated in San Francisco DA by a landslide, the day he announced, they made a public statement. And they said, "We hope and we pray that George Gascon does not do to Los Angeles County what he did to the city and county of San Francisco." That was a message that apparently the voters in Los Angeles County didn't hear or didn't value. Well, okay, so now we got him. George Soros spent a lot of money, a couple $1 million. One of his friends, the wife of the Netflix billionaire, she matched the dollar for dollar, $3 million, and we get George Gascon. And Lacey ran a lousy campaign. There's a combination of things. But that $3 million of ads saying Lacey's bad and Gascon is good were a big factor. So we get this guy in there. And he brings over radical, left-wing public defenders to help him run the office. And I'm going to tell you about 2 of them. He brought over 5 so far, all in management. And they're there to do a few things. 1, unwind all the death penalties previously achieved by previous district attorneys, including myself and Jackie Lacey and others. Unwind all the death penalties. Why? He doesn't believe in the death penalty. He's got his ideology. Another one, let's resentence everyone to, if we can, to 15 years or less. Why? Because George Gascon thinks 15 years is long enough for anybody to serve. Well, some crimes require a little bit more than that, like life without the possibility of parole for executing a police officer, life without the possibility of parole for killing multiple people. There are penalties in the books that represent the gravamen of the offense that's been committed. But no, he's got someone that goes in under a legislative provision that's rarely used by any DA, except in the interest of justice. He goes in to reduce sentences. This is other public defender. And he's got a gal named Tiffany Blacknelly brought over. She's a director. That's high up in the DA's office. That's like second tier. If you do a little Google research on Tiffany Blacknell, you'll see her picture. You know what it says on the shirt? "Police are trained to kill me." This is someone who's anti-cop to the core. The picture was taken at a Black Lives Matter rally. Okay, she's high up in his office. Lisa Blair. Lisa Blair, another career public defender. We brought her over. Her job was to take the 88 cases where Jackie Lacey and her staff, after a thoughtful review, asked a judge to consider transferring that juvenile to adult court for a particular offense. Now, I'll give you one example. A guy gets mad at his girlfriend down in Inglewood. Goes over and he kills her, executes her. Oh, unfortunately, her sister was there, so she gets murdered too. Then he burns the house down. The guy committed that crime a month before he was 18. Withdrawn from a transfer hearing by Lisa Blair. Who's Lisa Blair? Well, you can do a little Google on her too. During the disturbances of 2020, a huge chunk of Fairfax, Los Angeles County, there was rioting, there was looting, there was burning, there was arson. 27 police cars were burned up. And this is sort of captured on television while it's going on. And what does Lisa Blair tweet? This is a high-up person in the DA's office, former public defender. She tweets, "We have to destroy before we can rebuild." She is cheering on the destruction of Los Angeles County. That's who's running your DA's office, unless you do something about it. And I'll give you a little update on here's what you can do about it. You can grab a petition and make sure they get passed out, take it with you, think about it, and it's a simple process. Print your name, residence address, signature, keep it all within the lines, city, zip code. Just keep it on the yellow part, don't go outside the yellow part, they disqualify it, don't abbreviate your city. And then you, if you're the one passing around, get the signatures, you say, "I circulated it." That's it. Right now we got over 550,000 signatures. We think that there's a high validity rate. We need 566,000 valid signatures. The experts say to be sure you're going to get the 566, you better have at least 10% more. That puts us up to 675, 700,000. We've got 5 weeks to get the rest of the signatures. And some very good things are happening. One, they have been raising money. And more people are donating because they see a winner. Money follows the winner in politics. 2, they came up with a strategy that I thought was, I don't know if it's going to work or not, but it has worked. They sent out initially to all registered Republicans in Los Angeles County a letter with a petition in it, instructions on how to sign it, and a prepaid envelope to return it. That exceeded their expectations. Usually on a mailing, you get about a 4% return. That's considered pretty good. They're getting about a 10% return. That gave them a boost that allows us to say we got 550,000. They're going to send out another 3 million because it worked with the Republicans. They think it'll work with certain targeted key zip codes and cities. So that has been a big boost. But it's not the end all and the be all. We still have to have our volunteers, people like you, out there circulating petitions, and we have to raise the money to get the paid signature gatherers out there. The signatures gathered so far are the 3rd largest number of signatures gathered in a petition effort in the United States history. Right behind the petition to recall Gray Davis and the petition to recall Newsom. We're number 3. But we don't need to be number 1. We just need 10% of the registered voters in Los Angeles County, ballot voters, it's their signatures, and this guy goes on the ballot. Then what happens? We'll stand for election, recall election November. It's a simple election. Do you want to recall George Gascon as district attorney? Yes or no? Just like the Newsom deal was. If George Gascon is recalled as district attorney of Los Angeles County, who do you want? There'll be a long list of names. You can pick someone to be the next district attorney, and there will be a campaign to allow you to refine your choices, make an informed choice. So that's what it's going to be, and he will be recalled. I've told people, I say with a great deal of confidence, the minute the registrar recorder certifies George Gascon to be on the ballot in November for recall, we've won. There's no way George Gascon can unring the negative bell. We own earned media in LA County. A lot of televisions have supported the effort. They know about this guy. Talk radio, 100%. We call George Gascon. And we told the victim stories. And that resonates with people. They care about victims, like George Gascon. So he is going to be defeated, not in a landslide, not in a big, landslide's what, 10 points? Big landslide, 20 points? I'd be Garcetti, by the way, by 28 points. This is going to be a mega landslide to recall George Gascon. And then that will be the foundation upon which we can get rid of those career public defenders now running DA's office, get rid of them, get that office back on track. But back on track is pretty simple. Just enforce the law. Just enforce the law as a professional prosecutor. Follow the law. Now, I did indicate I would answer some questions, but I want to emphasize, main reason I drove 40 miles out here to see you guys was not for the breakfast, but I will have breakfast before I go. To pass these out and encourage you, for you to go out and get some signatures. Be part of history. This is going to be historic. It's going to be historic. Historic for this county, because in 172 years, there's never, ever been a constitutional officer recalled. Constitutional officers are those that are created by the Constitution: district attorney, sheriff, and assessor. Those are the three constitutional officers. Board of supervisors are not constitutional officers, they're created by the legislature. There's never been a constitutional officer recalled in LA County 172-year history. Let's make history. Let's recall George Gascon. Now, do you have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question. Boudin in San Francisco is up for recall, I think next week?
Yeah.
If he gets recalled, do you think that will help spur on?
Absolutely.
So we should really hope that recall
It shows, yeah. You're talking about Chessie Boudin, the son of the cop killers and left-wing radicals who like to blow up places. Okay. Yeah, he's going to be recalled. Their first effort fell a little short. Their second effort grew, and I think he's going to be recalled in a landslide. Even a crazy liberal San Francisco.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, hopefully that will spur on more signatures to get our guy out.
I think it'll bring more attention to the fact, now we've got one here, they took that bad guy out of there, let's take our bad guy out here. I think it will, yes.
I collected a lot of signatures the first time while I was getting signatures for my own re-election. And is there a way to find out if those same people have voted it, signed it yet? And are you able to verify, I know that it wouldn't be a permanent verification, but are your people able to verify all those signatures that are legitimate voters?
Okay, that's two questions. They're both good questions. First question is, can we find out if someone signed the first petition that went around that didn't get there? It doesn't matter. They've got to. None of those signatures count towards this election. So they've got to just do it to the new petition. And if they think they didn't, go ahead and sign it anyway. They'll pick it up and go back in. So just anyone should be told, no, that person doesn't count. Sign this one. Sign this one right here. Pick those guys up. And the second question related to the professional recollection.
You verify.
Okay, verify. Good question. There is a system in LA County, and it's actually pretty smart, that allows the circulators of a petition for an initiative or a proposition, or in this case a recall, to have it validated by a private company. And they pay the private company. So as these petitions have been coming in, they're processed by the campaign, they're turned over to this private company. They do the validation by checking county voter records, so it's almost ready to go when they give it to the registrar recorder. This saves the registrar recorder from having to validate 566,000. So it's really a very efficient system. I'm surprised the county's even that efficient, but they are.
So when you say you gathered 500 whatever, they are done through that company?
They're all going to the company. They come in. Right now, the headquarters, they've got boxes and boxes and boxes of mail of people that responded to the mail-in petition. They're processing those. They secure the envelopes. They keep a record. They look over the petitions, make sure that they're in order. They then go to the validation company. They then come back and put the secure location.
Okay, so when you say you have 500,
these are what they've counted. These are what they have counted. I won't say they're all valid.
No.
10% could be invalid, but they've gotten that many in. Okay? Like I personally signed it 4 or 5 times, to make sure. Yes, ma'am.
On a personal note, what have you been doing since you stopped being district attorney?
Okay, good question. I retired December the 4th, 2012. Jackie Lacey was sworn in. I gave her the car keys and the car, all that. I got a ride home. A month later, I opened my own law firm called Steve Cooley Associates, and we do a variety of things. It's a sole practice, but every single case I am on, I work with other lawyers or investigators, or experts. Like I'll give you one case you guys are probably familiar with. David Daleiden the individual who did the undercover video of Planned Parenthood and National Abortion Foundation, where they admitted having committed crimes like illegal selling of body parts. I'm on that case, but I'm with a team of lawyers from Chicago, the appellate lawyers on the criminal case, another former deputy DA who's some defense attorney, so I'm with the defense attorneys in that case. That's a particular case. I've got other cases, mostly not criminal, because criminal. I'll do a criminal case only the person is innocent, and there are a few people out there who are innocent, or it's a miscarriage of justice. I think something very wrong. So I don't do that many. I do some administrative work, I do governmental relations, just whatever kind of comes my way. Yes, sir.
Question. So after the recall, do you know, kind of on the inside track, who will be running as a replacement for Gascon and who you like?
There have been a couple of deputy DAs who have literally been campaigning since he was sworn in, since he was elected. They've been campaigning every day. They're both Democrats. One is a pretty good guy, the other one's a miserable human being. But my guess is going to be a couple of dozen, maybe 40, 50 people who put their name on the ballot, and it's a plurality. You don't need a majority, it's a plurality. So if someone get 10% and win, if they get the most, then everyone else gets less than 10%.
But so realistically, who do you think is running and who do you like? Who would you recommend?
Well, are there any lawyers in this room right now? Are you a lawyer? No, you're not a lawyer.
Just
You're a lawyer?
curiosity. It's not
I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see who signs up. I have encouraged some
Forget
people
about
that.
who's going to sign up. I think you would be the best candidate.
That's right.
I appreciate that, but you want me to leave my I built up for 10 years?
I told you, Steve, a little while ago, I'm coming out of retirement.
Okay.
You too will come out of retirement.
We will see what happens. So let's just wait and see what the lineup is. I've actually
I will support
encouraged.
you.
I've encouraged a couple of really good people to run, and they said no, I'm just not going to do it. I'm getting out of California, whatever.
Steve, if you ran, you'd have to shave again.
No, I wouldn't. Well, I wouldn't, because I was speaking with a lady earlier, and we agreed the times have changed, and yours is much more acceptable. So we'll see what happens, but I'll tell you what, I'll let you know who I'm supporting if I'm supporting somebody.
Okay.
If I decide to run, you'll read about it in the paper, okay? Yes, ma'am.
Is your firm doing any work with election integrity, say, with the anomalies?
We've not done anything along those lines at all.
No.
No.
Oh, Mr. Cooley, I was asking.
We do a lot of pro bono, but not in that arena. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
The big talk this day about the 2000 Mule, the movie. As a lawman, as an expert in law, what kind of thing can we get from it? The credibility.
I've not seen that movie yet, and I'm not even read the reviews. I've been too busy meeting people trying to get a movie called Gascon.
Watch it. Watch it.
Watch it, good? Is it on, what is it, on Netflix or?
It's database and has statistics, and it's a very thorough forensic group that.
Where can I look at
I
it?
think you can get it
Well,
straight
I
on the
think
alley.
at Calvary Chapel in Chino Hills, they're going to be showing it for free at 5 o'clock
Tonight.
tomorrow.
Okay, I'll Google it and find out.
You can also buy it or, you know.
I'll buy it.
I saw it on the picture. I saw it on the picture.
You can do a web search on 2000 Mules, and you can see
I know how to do that
where to
stuff.
watch that.
Took me a while to learn that web stuff.
It's fabulous. That was why I asked you about the election integrity question, because I'm working on
Well,
that.
let me tell you, election integrity is a huge issue for this country. When I ran against Kamala Harris for Attorney General, there were 57 law enforcement endorsements, I got all 57. There were actually 18 daily newspapers that endorsed, others smaller ones did too, but 18 dailies, I got 17. I won election night based upon the voting that day and the absentees they'd already counted up. I lost on provisional votes. Provisional votes are the ones that are harvested. The provisional votes are the ones most likely to be fraudulent. And even if they weren't harvested for Kamala Harris, and they probably weren't in most cases, it's the Democrats were always the person who got the rest of the votes. I lost in every county by a landslide when it came to provisional votes, which had to be counted by law. California, ballot harvesting is legal. Other states, it's illegal. So, what was that?
That was 2012.
Pardon me?
That was 2012. They were doing it really well then.
2010.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a couple years later, but recently, 3 Republicans, Congress people in Orange County won election night, and then once they counted the provisionals, because of a close vote, they all lost. So there's a lot of issues on election integrity out there in various states. Some of it's just out and out cheating, lying, signing ballots that for people who don't exist, putting them in there. There's a lot of that going on.
There are 5.6 million registered voters here in Los Angeles County.
The rolls for registered voters are a mess.
And half of them, 50% of 1 million don't have any birthplace on them. There are ghost voters that they don't show up in any database.
And then guess what happens? They get to go out and drop it off in a ballot box someplace or mail it in. No, you're right. That's a big issue. Yes, sir.
It is a huge issue.
Leo Terrell's show on 790 is he's all for recall of Gascon, but he's bad mouthing.
I've heard Leo Terrell. Leo Terrell, I admire. I think he's right a lot of the time on that. He was flat ass wrong. He did not have the terminology he used was incorrect in most cases. His facts were wrong, and then he started pointing the finger of this is a failed effort, blah blah blah. So I heard that. I would like to call Leo up and say, Leo.
He says he'll take people from the recall campaign to come in and give facts, and I think he should represent because he's real. I know he has he's prime time, he's got a lot of listeners.
A guy from the campaigning, Tim Lineberger, went on his show to respond to a previous show where he was bad-mouthing the recall effort, and Leo wouldn't let him get a word in edgewise. Leo was just wrong. In this one, he's wrong. They're gonna show that he's wrong by getting those signatures. They did some brilliant things. This idea of mailing out petitions to registered voters has never been done before, and it works good. Well, Leo Terrell may not know how it works, but he's on the inside. A lot of people give advice, they don't know what they're talking about.
He's pretty opinionated, he's prime time and stuff.
And mostly he's right.
He might be.
I mean, I love the guy on Fox, but he's right so much of the time. He's got a good philosophy. On that one there, he was wrong in facts. Yes, sir.
Yes. We've talked a lot about election integrity. In fact, Maggie, when she opened Embrace, she talked about it. I was challenged last month. I ran for city council in Arcadia for re-election. Election integrity went out the window. My opponent did not even live in the city when he filed. And then what happened on election day was another challenge. But someone asked me, what can I do? Jackie Lacey, her department did 2 investigations, but took it no further into that he was not a valid candidate. Is there anything I can do at this point?
You took it to Jackie Lacey, and she did not file anything?
They did 2 investigations at City Hall, but they took it no further.
Okay, well, you have to put a certain amount of faith in the integrity of the district attorney's office, at least under Jackie Lacey. When I was DA, we did residency investigations on many allegations, and we brought many cases, and we were 100% successful in our conviction rate because we knew we gathered enough evidence to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. I'll give you one quick example. Vernon, been run by the same family for multiple decades, and it's a very, very rich city with 96 voters. Okay, it's not really a city. Their city manager was the highest paid public official in the United States of America. This is a city that has 96 voters, 40,000 people work there every day. We went after them, and we looked at the residency issues, and the patriarch of the ski-on of that family that run that city, now he's trying to figure out where he lives. So he put down on his voter registration, I live here. Well, okay, follow him around, guys follow him around. They find out he's going home every day to a mansion in Hancock Park, every day. Well, we got to really prove that he does not live where he claims he lives. So they go down there, and it's a little room above a hardware store. And they go in there with their search warrant. and they go over to the sink. They turn the water on. The water can't get through and drain because there's so many cobwebs in the drain. They go over to the medicine chest. And there's something in there. It's a prescription from 1955. He got convicted, as did his wife, as did his son. So we were very successful when I was DA, and it's important to pursue those cases with the integrity of the system. I don't know what happened in Arcadia.
But the question that was asked me was, why, is there anything at this point I should take it further? Not that I want a man joining my family.
You have a DA who doesn't care about that, who's incompetent. And he won't say, hey, go on, make sure you do this right, do it right. So, and the Attorney General, he's a loser. Bonton, he's another running a whorehouse in an office, political hack. Yes, sir.
I'm a discouraged California Republican.
Well,
All these changes that we're talking about, doesn't it require a lot of Democrats voting Republican? And I just don't see it happening. Newsom won his recall by a landslide. You'd have thought if anybody was going to get kicked, it would have been him. You know, a guy in Arizona asked me when I was filling up with gas, how's the recall going to happen? I said, they'll probably get enough signatures to put it on a ballot, but he'll hold his office by double digits easy. Sure enough. Don't know, how do we get enough Democrats to switch and vote Republican?
You may never get enough Democrats
So then how's
switch and
change
vote
gonna
Republican,
come?
and you may not have to care, because I think there are actually 49 other states. And a lot of them are going to get rid of Democrat congressmen, Democrat senators. I think you're going to see the Senate taken over by Republicans, Congress taken over by Republicans, the next president's going to be a Republican. So maybe we in California are left to our own devices with a bunch of loser statewide elected officials and county board of supervisors and city council of LA, which is, by the way, has there's 50 city councilmatic districts, 14 Democrats. Are you going to change that? Probably not. But the weather's good here, you know. Our families are here. But other things will change. And one thing that will change, getting rid of George Gascon.
Steve, can you correct me?
This will be the last question.
Okay.
He's gotta go.
Can you correct me if I'm wrong? If we get 80% of Republicans that are registered to vote in LA County, we could win any election, but we can't get Republicans to get out to vote, that's the problem.
Well, getting out the vote is important, but Republicans are outnumbered hugely by Democrats in Los Angeles County. And some of them are organized. The unions are very well organized. There are certain groups that are very well organized. So, yes, getting out the vote is important, but we're still outnumbered about 3-1.
Yeah.
When I ran against Campbell and Harris statewide, Republicans were outnumbered by 21 points. So I picked up 21 points as an election night, and that's all uphill. That took the newspapers and the law enforcement and others, and the fact that a lot of them didn't like her, to get me there. But it's tough. We're outnumbered. That doesn't mean we don't fight the fights we win, or even suddenly lose. All right, thank you all very much. I appreciate it.